Now this right here is a Boeing 767 taking off from the shortest runway a Boeing 767 has ever seen. We're talking here 1,600 meters, barely a mile of runway. 1,000 meters too short for the 767. It's not a small plane. And the backstory behind this video is just insane. Anyway, see how this plane is prepping for this takeoff here, using every single inch of the runway, going full power into the engines and leaving a trail of dust behind because the engines are partly hanging over ground. Well, glass, and we can see children being quite excited to see whatever's going on here. Plane is accelerating fully. Oh, wow, that was a little bit of more dust here. And taking off now from 1,600 meter long runway. Absolutely insane. Now, this video is from 2013. There's more camera angles here, but this is absolutely unusable of a video. Great 240p. Boom, taking off. We're pretty much using all of that runway. Here is another angle. Now this happened in 2013, and this flight is operated by Ethiopian Airlines. And if you know Ethiopian Airlines, then you know that they have a history of flying to the wrong airport. Quite a lot. This happened in 2021 here. 2 Ethiopian 737s attempt landing at unfinished Zambian airport. I don't really have an understanding as to how in modern day technology you can actually land at the wrong airport. Instead of landing here on the Simon Mwanza Kavebe International Airport in Zambia, they managed to land at a runway 16 kilometers away. But the 767 flight that we're talking about obviously was a bit of a different one. Now this was, again, on the 18th of December 2023. Come on, man, that literally says 2013. With Ethiopian flight ET-815. A flight from Addis Ababa in Ethiopia to Mount Kilimanjaro International Airport. The 767-300 took off from Addis Ababa Airport here in Ethiopia, which is Ethiopian's hub. Look, it says Ethiopian on the hangar, so that makes sense. Well, this is normally a 2-hour and 40-minute flight, and nothing went wrong here on takeoff. And, I just did a tail strike. Oh god, the runway test later on is going to be absolutely bad. Come on, take off. Now, okay, there we go. Let's pretend that didn't happen. Yes, again, the flight went smoothly, unlike here in the flight sim. All went smoothly, in fact. All the way up until the arrival into Kilimanjaro, indeed. I mean, look, we've got the beautiful Mount Kilimanjaro. I think that's Mount Kilimanjaro here. To the left of us, plane is coming into Kilimanjaro, heading for runway 09, which would be this direction. But then it turns out on approach into runway 09, which we can see right here, there was a Cessna on the end of the runway that had crashed in some way and was obstructing the runway. Which is why the Kilimanjaro ATC said, Ethiopian, you have to take the other runway because the one end is obstructed. Now, maybe a little bit of an interesting safety procedure to keep using the runway even though there's a crashed airplane on the runway. Anyway, so the airplane did as told. Didn't land on this side, but tried to land on the other side. So, right here. But somehow, the airplane didn't land on runway 27 of Kilimanjaro Airport, but it ended up landing a little bit. Let me just skip forward here. It ended up, just a bit more patience, please. Here is the airport it landed at, Arusha. What? I mean, okay, these airports have the same runway direction, to be honest. This one runway 27, and the other one's also runway 27. But I mean, still to this day, I wonder how was this possible? We still don't really know. There was never really an investigation case that I found that solved the issue. I mean, these pilots must have been like drunk as hell. I mean, yes, granted, the visibility may have not been the best or something. Although, I mean, it wasn't the worst either. Like, we're not talking proper IFR conditions. Yeah, just a bit of clouds. And yes, granted, the runway 27 of the Mount Kilimanjaro Airport does not have an ILS approach. But how, with modern avionics that we can see very much down here, can you land at an airport that is a 1.5 hour drive, 58 kilometers away from your destination? I don't get it. Also, doesn't it get quite obvious that this airport is extremely small, especially compared to a big international runway airport? It has a very different layout that they just not... I mean, what were they looking at anyway? Like, even after touchdown, you would have maybe noticed, this runway is a little short. Is this made for the 767? Not really. Let's maybe try to land here at Arusha Airport. Now, this is an airport that maybe, good day sees an ATR flying here. Or maybe crashing here. I'm pretty sure that's happened here before. ATRs crash all the time. Let's see if we can land this airplane and stop it in time, which maybe should work if we go full power. It's also interesting how no one really noticed this on a radar or something. First, let's touch down. There you go. That's been actually quite a nice landing. Let's go ahead and stop this plane now. Oh, come on. Let's do it. Reverse thrust, please. Yeah. Now. Yeah. Uh-oh, this might be actually quite close. Come on, full power into the stopping. Yes. Now in real life, the plane veered off the runway a little bit into the grass for some reason, ending up like this. So that is, oh, everything's in the grass. Look at how tiny this runway is. I mean, generally, can you imagine the situation here at Kilimanjaro International Airport, which as you can see is much bigger? The tower here clears the Ethiopian 767 for landing to runway 27 right, this one. But somehow the plane just never arrives. And at the airport, they're like, oh my God, did we just have a new MH370? And they wonder until they get a call from the Arusha tower saying, so we just had a 767 that landed here. What's up with that? I mean, the whole situation was quite lucky because the 767 landed here at Arusha Airport without the landing clearance. Like there could have been other traffic here in the airspace or on the runway. Anyway, luckily none of the 223 people on board was injured. Here's actually someone here. I was on that plane December 29th, 2013. I was in the plane, the landing was rough, and I think we were too fast on the runway, so at the end of it, the pilot stuck the plane in the grass. Then we were stuck for 3.5 hours in the plane. The crew kept telling us we were at the right airport, that it was in fact Kilimanjaro. Lol. First, they parked a fire truck under the rear door of the plane, tried to put a ladder between the roof of the truck and the door of the plane, but they said it was too risky. So they were trying to evacuate using a ladder to not put out the evacuation slides, because, you know, that is always a bit expensive. It's a single-use product that you have to replace. But they did end up opening the emergency slide at 4 p.m. They did send stairs from Kilimanjaro Airport so that people could deboard the plane normally as well. What? At 6 p.m. There was no one left in that plane except the crew by then. What a crazy thing. Now, as we see in these high quality videos, the plane ended up departing from the runway 2 days later, probably without any passengers or cargo in them, because the takeoff is a bit hard here. I mean, this isn't your usual airport the 767 flies out of, although it seems bigger in the flight sim. Maybe they expanded it over the past 11 years. That could very well be. Let's try to take off now. I don't know if this is gonna work properly. This is not a very high performance plane here now. So yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, we don't really know a lot about this case, whether the pilots they could have also landed here not on accident but to divert because they didn't want to use the other runway. But why wouldn't they tell the ATC that? This is just a confusing case, and let's try taking. Yeah, there we go. We just literally used every single inch of that runway. That is just insane. So yes, everybody, my friends of GPS and flight management computers. Who needs those? Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. As always, good night. And a special thanks goes out to my members, my supporters, Guns Killer, R27, James Duram, That Dude, Anime Gods of Gaming, Derek, Insider Plane, Nishijitsu Fanner, Professional Jamal, Ryland Williams, and New the York. You've got beautiful names.